I want you to be honest with me for a moment. I want you to think about the scariest feeling in the world. I don't mean ghosts. I don't mean spiders. I don't mean watching a horror movie. I am talking about a specific kind of fear that only language learners know. It is the fear of silence. Imagine this. You are standing in front of another person. Maybe it is a stranger. Maybe it is a waiter in a restaurant. Maybe it is a colleague. They look at you. They ask you a simple question. You hear the question. You understand the question. Your brain knows the answer. In your own language, you could answer instantly. You are smart. You are funny. You are capable. But in English, suddenly there is a wall, an invisible wall between your brain and your mouth. You open your mouth to speak, but the words are stuck. They are trapped behind the wall. Your heart starts to beat faster. Boom, 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 boom. You can feel the blood rushing to your face. You feel hot. You feel sweat on your back. The other person is waiting. They are looking at your eyes. 1 second passes. 2 seconds pass. 3 seconds. To them, it is just a short pause. But to you, that silence feels like 1 hour. It feels like torture. You start to think, they think I am stupid. They think I cannot speak. Why is my mind empty? Why am I frozen? This feeling, this paralyzing fear, is what I call the brain freeze. And I know this feeling intimately. I know it better than I know my own best friend, because I lived with this fear for years. Today, on Fluent with Looki, we are going to go on a long journey together. We are not just going to learn English words today. No. We are going to go deeper. We are going to talk about how to break that invisible wall. I am going to tell you the story of my biggest failure, a moment so embarrassing that I wanted to disappear. But it is also the story of how I finally learned to speak without fear. So please, sit back, relax, close your eyes if you want to, and let me take you back in time. Let's throw back to 5 years ago. Let's go to London. It was my very first week in the United Kingdom. I had just arrived. I was young. I was excited. I had a dream. My dream was to live in England, make English friends, and speak fluently like a movie star. I felt confident. Why? Because I was good at studying. I knew my grammar rules. I knew the present perfect tense. I knew the third conditional. I had watched Friends and Harry Potter 10 times. I thought to myself, Looki, you are ready. You are going to be great. But there is a big difference, a huge difference between studying English in a quiet room with a textbook and speaking English in the real world. The real world is loud. The real world is fast. The real world does not have subtitles. On this specific Tuesday morning, it was raining. Classic London rain. Cold, gray, and wet. I needed to travel to the north of England, to a city called Manchester, to visit a friend. To get to Manchester, I had to go to Euston Station. Now, if you have never been to a major train station in London during rush hour, let me describe it to you. It is a monster. I walked through the automatic doors and the noise hit me like a physical punch. Whoosh, the sound of thousands of feet walking on the floor. Ding dong, the sound of the loudspeaker announcements echoing from the high ceiling. The 9:45 service to Birmingham is now departing from platform 12. The smell of coffee, The smell of wet raincoats, the smell of diesel fumes from the trains. It was chaos, absolute chaos. Everyone seemed to know exactly where they were going. People in suits were running. Tourists were pulling heavy suitcases. Click-clack, click-clack. And then there was me, Looki, standing in the middle of the hall. I felt small. I felt very, very small. I looked around for the ticket office. I saw a sign, tickets. I walked over. There was a long line of people waiting. The line moved slowly, snake-like. I stood at the back of the line, and this is where the fear started to grow. I looked ahead. Behind the glass windows, there were ticket sellers, real British people. They looked tired. They looked serious. They were working fast. They were not smiling. I watched the person at the front of the line. He walked to the window. He spoke fast. The seller spoke fast. Stamp, beep, ticket, go, next person. My stomach started to hurt. A knot of anxiety formed in my belly. I thought, oh no, I have to talk to him. I have to speak. What if he doesn't understand my accent? What if I make a grammar mistake? What if I hold up the line and everyone gets angry at me? The invisible wall was building up, brick by brick. I was still standing in the line. The queue was moving slowly, step by step, closer and closer to the scary glass window. There were maybe 5 people in front of me now. I decided I needed a plan. I could not just walk up there unprepared. That was too dangerous. I needed to be perfect. So I started to do something that many of you do. I started to write a script in my head. Do you do this? Before you make a phone call or before you order a coffee, do you write the sentence in your mind and read it again and again? I closed my eyes for a second. I thought about the grammar. Subject, I. Verb, want. Object, a ticket. I want a ticket to Manchester. No, that sounds too rude. I want is too direct. My teacher told me to be polite. Can I have a ticket to Manchester? Better. But maybe could I have a ticket is more formal. Or maybe just one ticket, please? I started to debate myself. My brain became a noisy classroom. Don't say can, say could. Don't forget please. Make sure you pronounce Manchester correctly. Man-chess-ter. Man-chess-ter. I started to whisper the words under my breath. My lips were moving silently. If you looked at me, I probably looked a little bit crazy. Just a man standing in a train station, muttering to himself. One ticket to Manchester, please. One ticket to Manchester, please. I said it 5 times. I said it 10 times. I said it 20 times. I was rehearsing like an actor before a Broadway show. I needed this one sentence to be my masterpiece. 3 people in front of me. 2 people in front of me. 1 person in front of me. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it in my ears. Thump, 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 thump. The person in front of me finished. He took his ticket and walked away. The ticket seller looked up. He was a middle-aged man. He had gray hair and glasses. He did not look friendly. He did not look mean. He just looked bored. He looked like a machine that sells tickets. He looked at me. He didn't say hello. He just nodded his head, a tiny movement that meant, come here, now. This was it, the moment of truth. I walked forward. My legs felt a little bit heavy. I walked up to the glass. There was a small microphone in the glass so we could hear each other. I put my hands on the counter to stop them from shaking. I looked him right in the eyes. I took a deep breath, and I delivered my line. I performed my script. I said in a loud, clear voice, "Hello, one ticket to Manchester, please." I smiled. Inside, I was cheering. Yes, Looki, you did it. Perfect pronunciation, perfect grammar. You are amazing. I waited for him to print the ticket. I waited for the easy part. But then, disaster struck. The man didn't print the ticket. He didn't say, okay. Instead, he looked at his computer screen, typed something quickly, and then he spoke to me. He said one short sentence, maybe 4 or 5 words. He said it quickly. He mumbled it. He didn't open his mouth very wide. He said, "That'll be 30 pounds. But friends, that is not what I heard. My ears were not ready for the speed of a native speaker in a noisy station. My ears were not ready for the way he connected the words together. That will be 30 pounds. To me, it sounded like one long, strange alien word. It sounded like double but dirty puns. I blinked. The smile fell off my face. The invisible wall crashed down. I didn't understand. Not one word. Was it a question? Was it a statement? Was he angry? My brain panicked. It started searching for files that didn't exist. What did he say? Did he say Manchester is closed? Did he ask me what time I want to go? Did he ask for my passport? And the number. I heard a sound like dirty. Did he say 30? 30? Did he say 13? 13? Did he say 40? In English, numbers are tricky. 13 and 30 sound like twins, bad twins who like to trick foreigners. I stood there, frozen. The silence returned, but this time it wasn't in my head, it was real. The man stopped typing. He looked at me. He was waiting for a response. He raised one eyebrow, just one. That eyebrow said, "Are you going to pay me, or are you going to stand there all day?" I felt the heat rising up my neck. I felt my face turn red. I knew that 50 people were standing behind me in the line. They were watching my back. They were thinking, "Hurry up, stupid tourist." I was trapped in the nightmare. Have you ever had a computer that crashes? You move the mouse, but the cursor doesn't move. You click the buttons, but nothing happens. The screen just freezes. That was me. I was a crashed computer in a human body. The man was staring at me. The queue behind me was getting restless. I could hear people shifting their weight. Shuffle, shuffle. Someone coughed loudly. Ahem. That cough was a message. It meant move. But I couldn't move. My brain was locked in a loop of panic. I started to have a debate with myself inside my head. It was a very fast, very scary conversation. Voice 1, the panic voice. Just give him money. Give him the 20-pound note in your hand. Voice 2, the logic voice. But what if the ticket costs 30 pounds? If you give him 20, it is not enough. He will look at you like you are an idiot. He will say, "This is not enough money." That will be so embarrassing. Voice 1, okay, then give him the 50-pound note. Voice 2, but what if the ticket only costs 13 pounds? Then he will have to give you lots of change, and you look like a rich tourist who doesn't know the value of money. And wait, maybe he didn't even say a price. Maybe he asked a question. Voice 1, ask him to repeat. Say, "Pardon?" Voice 2, no. If I say pardon, he will just say it faster and louder. And if I still don't understand the second time, then I look doubly stupid. I cannot ask twice. That is the rule. You get one chance. This debate happened in maybe 3 seconds, but it felt like 3 years. I looked at the man's mouth. I was hoping I could read his lips, but he wasn't moving his lips anymore. He was just sighing. He let out a long breath through his nose. That sound broke my heart. I felt so ashamed. I felt like a child who wandered into an adult world. I wanted to turn around, run out of the station, go back to the airport and fly home. I wanted to give up on English forever. I thought, "Looki, you are a fraud. You watched all those movies, you studied all those books, but you cannot even buy a train ticket? You are useless." The shame was heavy. It sat on my chest like a big stone. But then, survival instinct kicked in. I realized I couldn't run away. I needed to get to Manchester. My friend was waiting for me. I couldn't sleep in the station. I had to do something. I looked down at the counter. Between us, there was the little metal tray where you put your money, and next to the tray, sitting on the desk, was a pen. Just a cheap blue ballpoint pen and a small pad of sticky notes. Suddenly, an idea flashed in my mind. I remembered a piece of advice from an old teacher, a teacher I had years ago. She once told the class, "When your ears fail you, use your eyes." I didn't need to hear the number, I needed to see the number. But asking for this required courage. It meant admitting defeat. It meant saying, "I do not understand you." It meant breaking the image of the perfect English speaker that I wanted to be. I took a deep breath. I swallowed the lump in my throat. I decided to drop my ego. I decided to stop pretending. I looked up at the man. I didn't try to smile anymore. I just looked honest, vulnerable. I opened my mouth to speak. I didn't worry about grammar. I didn't worry about my accent. I just wanted to communicate. I pointed at the pen on his desk. My finger touched the glass. I said, with a shaky voice, "I'm sorry, my English is not good. Can you please write the number down?" The station noise seemed to stop. I waited for his reaction. I expected him to be angry. I expected him to roll his eyes and say, "Ugh, tourists." But that is not what happened. The man looked at me. He looked at my worried eyes. He looked at my shaking hand pointing at the pen. And suddenly, his face softened. The boredom disappeared. The annoyance disappeared. He realized what was happening. He realized I wasn't being rude or slow on purpose. He realized I was struggling. He picked up the pen. He picked up the yellow sticky note. He wrote 2 numbers, big and clear. 30. He turned the paper around and stuck it on the glass window. He looked at me and gave me a small, kind smile. He pointed at the paper and said very slowly and clearly this time, £30, please, sir. 30! Oh, the relief! It washed over me like warm water. It wasn't 13, it wasn't 40, it was 30. I understood. The mystery was solved. I laughed, a nervous, happy little laugh. "Ah, 30, okay." I quickly grabbed the money from my wallet. 10, 20, 30. I put the money in the tray. He took it. He printed the ticket. Whir, click. He slid the orange ticket under the glass. "Here you go, Platform 6. I took the ticket like it was a gold medal. "Thank you," I said. "Thank you very much." I walked away from the window. My legs were trembling. My shirt was a little bit wet with sweat, but I was walking on air. I had survived. I walked to the platform, holding my ticket tight in my hand. I sat down on the train seat and watched the city of London pass by the window. As my heart rate slowed down, I started to think about what just happened. I replayed the scene in my mind. Why was I so scared? Why did I almost run away? I realized something important. I realized that my biggest enemy in that station wasn't the ticket seller. It wasn't the noise. It wasn't the fast English speed. My biggest enemy was me. It was my own desire to be perfect. I was so afraid of looking like a beginner that I almost failed to buy a simple ticket. I was trying to hide my level. I was wearing a mask. But the moment I took off the mask, the moment I said, "I am sorry, my English is not good," everything became easier. The ticket seller didn't hate me for not understanding. In fact, he became nicer. People generally want to help you, but they cannot help you if you pretend you are fine. If you act like you understand when you don't, people will get annoyed. They think you are ignoring them. But if you are honest about your struggle, people have patience. That day on the train, I made a promise to myself. I promised, Looky, from now on, you will never pretend. If you don't understand, you will ask. If you need it written down, you will ask. And that promise changed my life in England. It was the first step to real fluency. Now, my friends, let's take a deep breath. Let's pause the story for a moment. I want to look at the language I used in this story. There were some powerful words and phrases that you can use in your own life. Let's break them down together. 1. Overwhelming. I described the train station as overwhelming. This is a beautiful adjective. Use it when a situation is too much for your brain or your emotions to handle. Too much noise, too much work, too many people. Example, my first day at the new job was overwhelming. 2. Muttering/under your breath. I said I was muttering under my breath. To mutter means to speak very quietly so nobody else can hear clearly. Usually we do this when we are complaining or practicing something privately. Example, he walked away muttering to himself. 3. Frozen/paralyzed. I used these two words to describe my fear. To be frozen means you cannot move, like ice. To be paralyzed means your muscles do not work. We use them metaphorically to describe extreme fear or shock. Example, when the dog barked, I was paralyzed with fear. 4. The face softened. This is a very descriptive phrase for storytelling. When someone is angry or serious, their face looks hard, their muscles are tight. When they become kind or understanding, their muscles relax. We say their face softens. Example, when I explained my problem, her face softened. The power phrase. Can you please write it down? This is the most practical tool I can give you. If you are traveling, keep a small notebook and pen in your pocket. If you are at a hotel reception, at a doctor's office, or in a shop and you cannot understand a number, a name, or an address, do not guess. Use the phrase, I'm sorry, can you write it down? It saves time, it prevents mistakes, it saves you from embarrassment. So that was the train station panic, a scary moment, but with a happy ending. But not all of my stories have happy endings immediately. Sometimes the mistake is not about hearing the wrong thing. Sometimes the mistake is about saying the wrong thing. Sometimes you say a word that changes the entire meaning of who you are. Are you ready for story number 2? This one is painful. This one still makes me cringe when I think about it. Let's leave the train station. Let's go to a party. Let's talk about our second story, the boring mistake. Let's move forward in time. About 6 months had passed since my train station incident. I was living in London. I had a job. I was surviving. My listening skills were better. I could buy coffee without shaking. I could ask for directions without sweating. But I had a new problem, a deeper problem: loneliness. You see, you can live in a big city full of millions of people, but if you don't have friends to talk to, you are alone. I had colleagues at work, but we only talked about business. Pass the stapler. Where's the report? See you tomorrow. I wanted real friends. I wanted to make jokes. I wanted to talk about movies and life and dreams. I wanted to be cool Looki, not just foreign Looki. So I decided to be brave. I signed up for a language exchange meetup. Have you ever been to one of these? It is an event, usually in a bar or a pub, where people from all over the world gather. You wear a sticker on your chest with your name and your language, and you just talk. It sounds fun, right? But for an introvert like me, it is terrifying. Walking into a room full of strangers is my nightmare. It was a Friday night. I put on my best shirt. I checked my hair in the mirror. I told myself, "Tonight, Looki, you will be charming. You will be interesting." I arrived at the pub. It was a classic British pub. Dark wood, soft lights, the smell of beer and chips. It was crowded. There was a low hum of conversation. I walked to the registration table. I got my sticker. "Hello, my name is Looki." I looked around the room. I saw groups of people laughing. I saw a French guy talking to a Spanish girl. I saw a Japanese guy talking to a German guy. Everyone seemed to be having a great time. I stood by the bar holding my orange juice, feeling like a spare part. Then I saw a group sitting on a big leather sofa in the corner. They looked nice. They looked open. I took a deep breath. I walked over. "Excuse me," I said, "is this seat free?" A girl looked up. She had a bright smile. "Yes, join us," she said. I sat down. Success. Step 1 was complete. I was in the group. For the first hour, everything was great. We went around the circle. "Where are you from? How long have you been in London? What do you do?" I answered all the standard questions perfectly. I was on autopilot. But here's the thing about speaking a second language. It burns energy. It's like running a marathon with your brain. Every sentence requires calculation. Every word requires a search in your mental database. After 90 minutes of speaking English nonstop, my brain started to shut down. I was getting what we call language fatigue. My head felt heavy. My eyes felt tired. The voices in the room started to blur together. Blah, blah, blah. I stopped talking. I just sat back in the sofa, holding my glass, staring at the table. I wasn't sad. I was just empty. My battery was at 1%. The girl next to me, the one with the bright smile, noticed my silence. Her name was Sarah. She was a native English speaker, a volunteer at the event. She was very kind. She wanted everyone to feel included. She turned to me. She touched my arm gently. "Hey, Looki," she said, "you've gone very quiet. Are you okay? Are you having a good time?" Her voice was sweet. She was giving me an opportunity to speak. Now, I wanted to be honest with her. I wanted to explain my situation. I wanted to say, "Yes, Sarah, I am fine. I'm just really tired because speaking English is hard work, so I feel a little bit drained and uninterested right now." That was the truth. The feeling inside my body was boredom. Not because the people were bad, but because my brain was tired. So I searched my brain for the adjective. I found 2 words in my B file. Word A, bored. Word B, boring. They look the same. They sound almost the same. Surely they mean the same thing, right? Wrong. In that split second, my tired brain grabbed the wrong word. I looked Sarah deep in the eyes. I gave her my most sincere, honest look, and I dropped the bomb. The pub was noisy, but in my head, everything was in slow motion. Sarah was waiting for my answer. She expected me to say something like, "I'm just tired," or "I'm thinking." Instead, I leaned forward. I wanted to be vulnerable. I wanted to show her my true self. I said, clearly and confidently, "To be honest, Sarah, I am very boring." There was a pause. I thought I said, "I feel bored," but I actually said, "My personality is uninteresting." Sarah blinked. Her smile froze. She tilted her head to the side, like a confused puppy. "I'm sorry," she said. "You're what?" Now this was my chance to fix it. This was my chance to realize I made a mistake. But no, my brain was too tired to check the grammar. I thought she just didn't hear me because of the music, so I decided to emphasize it. I decided to make it stronger. I am boring, I repeated, nodding my head enthusiastically. I am a very boring person, especially at night. At night, I am extremely boring. I wanted to say that at night I get tired easily, but to her ears, I was saying, at night I have zero personality. I am dull. I am like watching paint dry. The other people in the group stopped talking. The French guy looked at me. The German guy looked at me. It is very rare for a human being to admit they have no personality. Usually, people try to hide that. But here was Looki proudly announcing to the world that he is the most uninteresting man in London. Sarah didn't know what to do. She was a polite British girl. In British culture, if someone says something awkward, you try to ignore it. She let out a nervous little laugh. "Ha! Oh, really? Well, I'm sure that's not true, Looki." I shook my head. No, no, it is true. Very true. Ask my friends. They know I am boring. I was digging the hole deeper. I was burying myself in the mistake. Okay, Sarah said, looking around the room for help. Well, do you want another drink? She changed the subject quickly. She wanted to escape the conversation. I sat back in the sofa feeling proud. I thought, good job, Looki. You expressed your feelings. You were honest. I didn't realize that I had just killed the vibe. For the rest of the night, nobody really talked to me. Why would they? I just told them I am not worth talking to. I sat there in silence, finishing my orange juice, and then I went home. I walked to the bus stop. I sat on the top deck of the bus. I took out my phone. I opened my dictionary app. I wanted to check something. I had a small, nagging feeling in my stomach, a tiny voice that said, "Did I use the right word?" I typed in bored. Definition: feeling weary and restless through lack of interest. Example: the children were bored in the classroom. Yes, I thought, that is how I felt. Then I typed in boring. Definition: not interesting, tedious. Example: the movie was boring. The man was boring. I stared at the screen. The light from the phone illuminated my face in the dark bus. My heart dropped into my shoes. "Oh no," I whispered. "Oh no, no!" I replayed the conversation in my head. I am very boring, especially at night. I covered my face with my hands. I groaned. Ugh! I sounded like a crazy person, or worse, I sounded like a depressingly honest person with low self-esteem. I imagined what Sarah told her friends later. I met this guy Looki. He seemed nice, but then he warned me not to talk to him because he has no personality. I felt the shame burning my cheeks. It was worse than the train station. The train station was just a transaction. This was social. This was about my identity. I decided right there on the bus, I can never go back. I have to find a new group. Maybe I have to move to a different city. Bristol is nice. I will move to Bristol. But then I slept on it. The next morning, the sun was shining. I thought about it again. It was funny. It was objectively a funny mistake. I had a choice. I could hide, or I could own it. I decided to go back, not to run away. I decided to go back to the same bar the next Friday. I hoped Sarah would be there. I needed to clear my name. I needed to prove that Looki is not boring. Looki is funny.
Looki makes grammar mistakes, but he is interesting. So, 1 week later, I walked back into the pub.
Walking back into that pub required more bravery than I thought. It is easy to avoid embarrassment. You just stay home. You watch Netflix. You stay safe. But staying safe does not make you fluent. I pushed open the heavy wooden doors. The smell of beer and chips hit me again. The noise was the same. The people were the same. I scanned the room. My eyes were searching for one person, Sarah. I saw her. She was sitting in the same corner, on the same leather sofa. She was talking to a new guy. My stomach did a little flip. What if she sees me and thinks, "Oh no, here comes the boring man, run away"? I took a deep breath. I walked straight over to her. She looked up. She saw me. For a split second, I saw a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "Oh, hi, Looki," she said. Her voice was polite but cautious. I didn't sit down immediately. I stood in front of her. I needed to make a speech. "Sarah," I said, "can I talk to you for 1 second?" She looked a little nervous. Sure." I smiled, a real smile, not a nervous one. "Last week," I said, "I told you something. I told you that I am very boring." She blushed. She didn't want to talk about it. "Oh, don't worry about that, Looki. It's fine." "No," I interrupted gently. "It is not fine, because it was a lie." She looked confused. "I checked my dictionary," I said. "I made a big grammar mistake. I mixed up 2 words. I wanted to say that I felt bored because I was tired. I did not mean that my personality is boring." I paused for effect. "Actually," I added, winking at her, "I am extremely interesting. I am probably the most interesting person in this room." Sarah stared at me. Her mouth opened a little bit. She processed the information. Bored, boring, mistake, and then it hit her. She threw her head back and laughed, a loud, genuine belly laugh. "Ha! Oh my God!" She laughed so hard she almost dropped her drink. "Looki, that makes so much sense. I was so confused last week. I told my sister about you. I said, I met a guy who hates himself." We both started laughing. The tension melted away instantly. The awkwardness vanished. She patted the seat next to her. "Sit down, please. Sit down, Mr. Interesting." I sat down, and guess what? We talked for 2 hours. We talked about English grammar. We talked about how confusing ed and ing words are. We talked about embarrassing moments. Because I admitted my mistake, I became the hero of the night. People love a person who can laugh at themselves. That night, I learned a lesson that is more important than grammar. Vulnerability connects people. If you try to be perfect, you are distant. You are a robot. But if you make a mistake and you own it and you laugh about it, you are human. And people want to be friends with humans. Now, before we leave this story, we must make sure you never make this mistake. I want to do a very quick grammar surgery. We are going to fix this problem in your brain forever. Listen closely. This is the gold rule of adjectives. Many adjectives in English come in pairs: bored, interested, excited, confused, tired. How do you choose? Rule 1. The ed ending is for feelings. Think of the D in ed. Think D for deep inside. How do you feel deep inside? I am bored. I am tired. I am confused. Rule 2. The ing ending is for the cause.
Think of the ng in ing. Think ng for the thing. What is the thing causing the feeling? The movie is boring. The job is tiring. The grammar is confusing. Let's test it. Imagine a shark, a big shark. Does the shark feel afraid? No. Does the shark make you feel afraid? Yes. So the shark is terrifying, and you feel terrified. If you say, I am terrifying, it means you are the monster. If you say, I am terrified, it means you are the victim. Do you see the difference? One letter changes you from a monster to a victim. So, my friends, I am Looki. Sometimes I am bored, but I really hope that I am not boring. And I hope this story was entertaining, the thing, so you feel entertained, the feeling. Okay, we have survived the train station. We have survived the party. But now we have a new challenge. Sometimes you don't just use the wrong word. Sometimes the word completely disappears from your brain. Total deletion, empty file. What do you do when you are in a shop holding an object and you have no idea what to call it? Do you run? No. You play a game. Let's go to story number 3. Let's go to the clothing shop. Welcome to story number 3. This story is about a very specific kind of brain freeze. It is called the vocabulary black hole. Do you know what a black hole is? It is a place in space where gravity is so strong that nothing can escape, not even light. Sometimes, inside a language learner's brain, a black hole appears. It sucks away a word that you know, a simple word, a word you learned in level 1. Suddenly, poof, it is gone. This happened to me in a clothing store on Oxford Street in London. I needed a new shirt for a job interview. This was important. I wanted to look professional. I wanted to look smart. I walked into a big department store. It was bright and shiny. There were mirrors everywhere. There was cool pop music playing. I looked through the racks of clothes. I found a beautiful light blue shirt. It was perfect. I checked the size. Medium. Perfect. Now, obviously, before I buy it, I need to check if it fits my body. I need to put it on. I looked around the store. I was looking for the small private rooms where you change your clothes. You know the rooms I'm talking about. They have a mirror and a curtain or a door. In your head right now, you probably know the name of this room. Maybe you are thinking, it is a fitting room, or maybe it is a changing room. Yes, you are right. But on that day, in that moment, my brain decided to go on vacation. I looked around. I couldn't see the rooms. The shop was huge. There were different sections for trousers, for shoes, for suits. I saw a shop assistant standing near the jeans section. She was folding clothes. She looked very busy. I thought, okay, Looki, just go ask her. I walked towards her. I was holding the blue shirt in my hand. I was preparing my sentence. Excuse me, where is the... And then, silence. I stopped walking. I searched my brain. Where is the... What? What is the name of the room? Changing box? No. Clothing house? No. Naked room? Definitely no. I started to panic. I knew this word yesterday, I swear, but today the word was deleted. It was gone. I stood there in the middle of the shop, holding a shirt, looking like a lost child. The shop assistant looked up. She saw me staring at her. She smiled a customer service smile. "Can I help you, sir?" she asked. Now I was trapped. She was looking at me. I couldn't just turn around and run away. That would be weird. I had to speak. but I didn't have the noun. I didn't have the key word. This is a moment where many students give up. They say, "Never mind," and they walk away. They leave the shirt. They leave the shop. They go home empty-handed because they forgot one word. I almost did that. I felt the urge to say, "No thanks, just looking." But I really wanted that shirt. It was a nice shirt. So I had to find a different way to communicate. If I don't have the word, I have to use the description. I had to paint a picture with my words. I looked at the woman. I took a deep breath. I decided to sound a little bit silly, but to get what I wanted. I walked up to her. So, here I was, standing in front of a polite British shop assistant. I held the blue shirt in my hand like a flag. I opened my mouth. The word fitting room was still missing. It was lost in the black hole. So I decided to play a game. Do you know the party game called charades? It is the game where you cannot speak and you have to act out a word using your body. Or the game taboo, where you have to describe a word without saying it. I decided to play taboo with the shop assistant. I said, "Excuse me, I want to buy this, but I need to test it." She looked at me. "To test it?" she repeated. She probably thought I wanted to do a scientific experiment on the shirt, or maybe set it on fire. "Yes," I said, "I need to put it on my body to check the size." She nodded slowly. "Okay." "So," I continued, using my hands to make shapes in the air, "where is the small box, the private room, the place with the mirror?" I pointed to the shirt, then I pointed to my chest, then I pointed to the back of the shop. I felt ridiculous. I felt like a caveman discovering clothes for the first time. Me? Shirt? Box? Where? The assistant looked confused for a second. Then her eyes went wide. She looked a little bit worried. "The bathroom?" she asked. "Do you need the toilet?" "No," I said quickly. "No toilet. I don't need the toilet." Oh no, now she thinks I have a bladder problem. "Not the toilet," I explained, waving my hands frantically. "The room for clothes, the room where I take off my clothes and put on new clothes." Now, pause for a second. Think about what I just said. The room where I take off my clothes. To a stranger, this sounds a little bit suspicious, a little bit weird. You don't walk up to a woman and talk about taking off your clothes. She took a small step back. She was clutching her clipboard tightly. "Sir," she said, her voice becoming very formal, "we don't have a room for that." I realized I was failing. My description was too vague. It was too scary. I needed to be more specific. I needed to use better function words. I stopped waving my hands. I calmed down. I thought, what is the function of the room? I tried one more time. "I am sorry, I forgot the name in English. I want to see if this shirt fits me. I want to try it." Then I did a gesture. I pretended to button a shirt on my chest. Her face changed instantly. The fear disappeared. The confusion disappeared. "Oh," she exclaimed, "you want to try it on?" "Yes," I shouted. I was so happy I almost hugged her. "Try it on, exactly." "You are looking for the fitting rooms," she said, smiling. "The fitting rooms," I repeated. "Yes, that is the word, the fitting rooms." She laughed. "They are just over there, behind the suits, to the left." "Thank you," I said. "Thank you so much. You are a genius." I walked to the fitting rooms, feeling like I had just solved a complex mathematical equation. I put on the shirt. It fit perfectly. I looked in the mirror, but I wasn't looking at the shirt. I was looking at myself. I thought, "Looky, you didn't have the word, but you survived. This is a superpower. You do not need to know every word in the dictionary to survive in English. You only need the skill of description. If you forget the word umbrella, you can say the thing that stops the rain. If you forget the word wallet, you can say the pocket for my money. If you forget fitting room, you can say the place to try on clothes. Did I sound like a native speaker? No. Did I sound a little bit funny? Yes. Did I get the shirt? Yes. Communication is not about perfection, it is about getting the result. Let's quickly grab the vocabulary from this story before we lose it. 1. To try on. This is a phrasal verb. It is essential for shopping. Put on means to place clothes on your body. Try on means to put clothes on to check the size. Example, can I try these shoes on? 2. Fitting room / changing room. These are synonyms. In the UK, we often say changing room. In the US, fitting room is common. Both are perfect. 3. Vague. I said my description was too vague. Vague means not clear, fuzzy, hard to understand. Specific, I want a coffee. Vague, I want a drink. Example, his instructions were very vague, so I got lost. 4. Suspicious. I said I sounded suspicious. This means causing someone to think you are doing something bad or wrong. Example, the man in the dark coat looked suspicious. Okay, we have one story left. We have conquered face-to-face fear. We have conquered social awkwardness. We have conquered forgotten words. But there is one final boss, the hardest challenge for any language learner. The device that removes all body language. The device that distorts sound. The telephone. Are you ready for the final nightmare? Let's go.
We have arrived at the final story. And this story is personal. This story is about my biggest fear. I call it the telephone terror. Let's be honest. Speaking English face-to-face is hard, but you have help. You have eyes. You have hands. You can point. You can smile. You can see if the other person understands you. But the phone is blind. On the phone, you are stripped of your weapons. It is just you and the voice. And usually, the voice is crackly. It is fast, and it has no face. For years, I avoided answering the phone. If my phone rang, I would stare at it. I would wait for it to stop. Ring, ring, silence. Whew! But then I got a job, an office job in London. And part of my job description was answering calls. It was a Monday afternoon. My boss, a very busy man named Mr. Henderson, went out for lunch. He told me, "Looki, I am expecting an important call from a client. If the phone rings, pick it up and take a message." I nodded bravely. "Yes, Mr. Henderson, no problem." He left. I was alone in the office. I sat at my desk. I stared at the phone. It was a gray office phone. It looked innocent, but I knew it was a monster waiting to wake up. I prayed, "Please don't ring. Please don't ring. Please let the client email instead." But the universe does not listen to prayers like that. At 2:15 p.m., the red light flashed. Brrring, brrring. The sound echoed in the silent office. My heart jumped into my throat. Brrring. I couldn't ignore it. It was my job. If I didn't answer, I could be fired. I took a deep breath. My hand was shaking as I reached for the receiver. I picked it up. "Hello? Looki speaking." Now, I expected a normal conversation. "Hello, is Mr. Henderson there?" "No, he is out." "Okay, thank you." Simple, right? No. The voice on the other end was a man.
He sounded like he had drunk 10 espressos. He was speaking at the speed of light, and he had a thick accent. Maybe Scottish, maybe Irish, I didn't know. He didn't say hello, he just launched into a monologue. "Aye, mate, listen, this Dave there. Look, tell him the logistics for Tuesday are messed up, and we need to shift the deadline to Wednesday morning, but only if the supplier agrees. Got it?" I held the phone away from my ear. I looked at it in horror. What language was that? Was that English? It sounded like a machine gun of words. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. My brain caught maybe 3 words. Dave? Who is Dave? My boss is Mr. Henderson. Tuesday? Wednesday. Everything else was just noise. I sat there, frozen. The man stopped speaking. He was waiting for a response. "Hello, you there, lad?" he asked. I was panic-stricken. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know what he wanted. I didn't know who Dave was. If I asked him to repeat, he would probably shout. If I hung up, I would look crazy. I started to sweat, real cold sweat. I felt like I was defusing a bomb. Cut the red wire or the blue wire? I said the only thing I could think of. Yes. "Great," said the man. "So tell him that. Wednesday morning. Cheers." Click. He hung up. I sat there holding the phone. The line was dead. I had a message. The message was something about Wednesday. But who called? Why? For whom? My boss was coming back in 10 minutes. He would ask, "Did anyone call?" And I would have to say, "Yes, a fast man. He said Wednesday. Goodbye." I was going to lose my job. I was sure of it. I put the phone down. I put my head in my hands. "Why is listening so hard?" I whispered. But then I remembered something. I remembered story number 1. The train station. The phrase, "Can you write it down?" But you cannot write things down on a phone. You cannot see the paper. I needed a different strategy. I needed a way to control the speed. I needed a way to force him to slow down. And then the phone rang again. Brrring, brrring. It was the same number. Maybe he forgot something. Or maybe this was my second chance. I decided to try a trick, a sneaky little trick that I learned from a spy movie. Okay, not a spy movie, maybe a YouTube video. I picked up the phone. "Hello? Aye, it's me again. Forgot to say." I didn't let him finish. I interrupted him. I spoke loudly. I spoke confidently. I said, "I am sorry. The connection is very bad. You are breaking up."
I lied. I am sorry, but I lied. The connection was perfect. I could hear him breathing. I could hear the background noise of his office. The line was crystal clear. The problem wasn't the technology. The problem was my brain speed. But here is the secret about telephones. Nobody questions technology. If you say you don't understand English, people get impatient. If you say the phone is broken, people get patient. They blame the machine, not you. So I repeated my lie. "I am sorry. It is a bad line. I can barely hear you." It worked like magic. The man on the other end stopped his fast talking. "Oh, can you hear me now?" he asked. His voice was louder and slower, much, much slower. "A little bit better," I said, still pretending, "but it is still crackly. Can you please speak very slowly?" "Right. Okay," he said. He sounded like he was speaking to a child or shouting across a canyon. "I said, tell Dave Henderson." "Ah, Dave Henderson. My boss's first name is Dave. I didn't know that. Mystery solved." "That the truck is coming Wednesday." Truck coming Wednesday. Got it. Instead of Tuesday. Instead of Tuesday. Perfect. "Did you get that?" he asked. I smiled at the empty office. I grabbed a pen. I wrote it down. Dave, truck, Wednesday, not Tuesday. Yes, I said. I got it loud and clear. Truck on Wednesday. Grand, he said. Thanks, mate. Bye. Click. I put the phone down gently. I looked at my notepad. I had the message. I had the information. I felt like James Bond. I had used a tactical maneuver to win the battle. When Mr. Henderson came back from lunch, I handed him the note. A man called about the truck, I said casually. It is arriving Wednesday, not Tuesday. Ah, excellent, Mr. Henderson said. Good job, Looki. He didn't know that 5 minutes ago I was sweating and shaking. He didn't know I lied about the connection. He just knew I did the job. From that day on, I stopped fearing the phone. Why? Because I realized I had the power to control the conversation. If someone speaks too fast, I don't just suffer in silence. I interrupt. I say, "Sorry, can you slow down?" Or if I'm really desperate, I use the bad connection excuse. But there's an even better phrase, a phrase that solves everything. Can you email me that? If the information is complex, numbers, dates, addresses, do not trust your ears. Just say, I want to make sure I get this right. Can you please send me a quick email with the details? 99% of people will say yes. And reading an email is so much easier than listening to a Scottish man on a fast phone call. Let's review the final vocabulary of our journey. Number 1, breaking up. This is the specific phrase for a bad phone connection. It means the voice is cutting in and out. Let's see an example. Sorry, you are breaking up. I can't hear you. Number 2, hang up. This means to end the call. Don't confuse it with hang out, spend time together. Another example. He hung up the phone angrily. Number 3, crystal clear. This is an idiom. It means very clear, easy to understand or hear. For example, the line was crystal clear. Number 4, launch into. I said the man launched into a monologue. This means to start doing something with a lot of energy and speed without pausing. For example, she launched into a story about her cat. My friends, we have been together for a long time today, 1 full hour. We traveled from the train station in London to the awkward party with the boring mistake, to the clothing shop with the fitting room black hole, and finally to the office with the terrifying telephone. What is the thread that connects all these stories? In every story, I was imperfect. In every story, I was afraid. In every story, I made a mistake. But in every story, I survived. I want you to remember this. Fluency is not about being perfect. Fluency is about survival. It's about finding a way to communicate even when you don't have the words. It's about laughing when you say something silly. It's about asking for help when you were lost. If you can do that, you will never be frozen again. I hope these stories made you feel less alone. I hope they made you smile, and I hope they gave you some tools for your own English journey. Thank you for watching Fluent with Looki. If you watched this whole video, all 1 hour of it, you are a true champion. Please write a comment below. Write, I am not boring, or the connection is bad. I want to see your jokes. Don't forget to subscribe. Keep talking, keep making mistakes, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.